the amount of $995,000 and to partner with Riverfront Development LLC to support the remediation of the properties located at 185, 212, and 213 Front Street for the development of mixed-use projects. These items are on file and available for public inspection in the Office of Legislative Services, 165 Church Street, New Haven. Per order, Honorable Carmen Rodriguez, Chair. Attest, Honorable Michael Smart, City Clerk. If you need any accessibility-related accommodations, please contact 203-946-7651 or 203-946-8582 TTY in accordance with the City of New Haven COVID-19 guidelines. Masks are now optional. Public may send comments to public testimony at newhavenct.gov. At this time, I'm going to have from my right, my colleagues introduce themselves. I am Carmen Rodriguez, Walder, Ward 6.
Frank Becky, Ward 15.
Brittany Mayberry, Mark Ward 20.
Frank Douglas, Ward 2.
At this time, I'm going to ask that the presenters of the item come forward. As you come forward, we're going to ask for your name and address for the record, as well as when we do have public testimony, we are going to ask those in attendance that plan on speaking publicly to give your name and address for the records as you have signed in on the sheet, and we'll take presentations at this time.
Helen Rosenberg, 212 West Elm Street, New Haven, with the Office of Economic Development, Economic Development Officer. I want to apologize that no one from the developer was able to join us tonight. That doesn't reflect on the project, which I think is a good project, and they will be available to answer any questions that you might have on Friday. Tomorrow's a holiday act, so I'll be able to get back to you with those answers on Friday. So this is 275 South Orange Street. LLC is affiliated with Spinnaker, and Spinnaker recently completed this project, mixed-use project on parcel A, which turned out really well in their retail spaces for the most part. And now the next one that they will develop is parcel B here. And the problem with parcel B that will require this assistance from DECD for remediation is the presence of contaminated fill materials, mostly petroleum and petroleum-related products, and debris from the Coliseum site, some of which are footings which were never removed, and other pieces of debris. So pretty straightforward cleanup. And the project itself will consist of about 120 residential units, of which 20% will be affordable for up to 80% of AMI. There'll be a 500 to 650 square space garage and about 7,000 square feet of retail and restaurant space and some public space as well. I would expect, can't get pictures, but I would expect that it would be similar in style and feel to the development on parcel A at the corner of South Orange and George. Let's see. I have a statement from them. They sent me a statement, so I'll read that. We are grateful for the continued work from the city of New Haven and the state of Connecticut in advancing the Coliseum development. Award of if you approve it, it will be approved. Brownfield grant supplements private investment to bring critical infrastructure improvements and environmental remediation closer to reality, directly supporting the delivery of new mixed-income housing, job opportunities, and long-term tax revenue for the city. We look forward to continued collaboration as we advance this next phase of the project. question.
Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The residents in the area are aware of this.
They did have some community involvement. There was they've been the city plan. They did send me a description of the community involvement, which was required as part of the application form, so I can send that.
Um, Has there been adequate, communication?
That's what, we'll take a look at it and send it to you. And, I mean, I can try and make that determination, but also if there hasn't been, if you determine there hasn't been, then they'll have to do more outreach.
Thank you, that's my question.
Thank
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So to follow up on that question, this has been a project in the Coliseum area, that is been, it was addressed several years ago. I understand there was a lot of conversation
Yeah,
in regards to it. It feels like many moons ago, that
with
this,
wordplay.
yeah, and my understanding is, that there was definitely conversation from the, folks that were developing the land, that there was going to be a public space area for, residents and anyone who was enjoying the space and the shopping and the restaurants, that there would be a public space for the residents well, from the city of New Haven, whoever came down, whether you were shopping, coming from another corridor, that items would be there. There would also be playscapes that were being addressed. I don't know if you remember that whole conversation. This is, like I said, quite a while back. It's unfortunate that they are not here, for them to follow up on conversations that they were there, that were done previously.
Yeah.
I know that I am the alder of that area, and they did have conversations with Alder Cupo, myself, and my other colleagues from the surrounding area. But as my colleague mentioned, Vice Chair Douglas, we need to ensure that everything that was spoken on previously, I know that this is a grant for remediation, and that we're not discussing,
Well,
the bills, but
directly related.
correct. Okay, great.
In the project narrative, they did say, Phase 1B will include between 5,000 and 10,000 square feet of commercial retail space for retail or restaurants, and then they said a significant amount of public space. So they just need to describe that more completely, and hopefully, I think a play space is a great idea. So I'll let them know that they need to provide more detailed explanation of that.
Thank you. Okay, you want
It's
to
a
move?
good testimony.
Thank you. Do you want to move on to the next item? Any questions from any committee members in regards to this project? Right now it is, it's a grant for remediation, but it would be nice, and I think everyone at this table would like to ensure that what was said previously is still slated to come to life in that area for the community. Okay. So we definitely would like to have that information. I appreciate you doing that and getting it through the legislative office so that my colleagues on the committee can review.
Yep.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Move on to the next one. Will you be presenting on the next item? Okay, we're ready. Okay. And as mentioned previously, as you join us at the table, name and address for the record, please.
I should introduce myself. Helen Rosenberg, 212 West Elm Street, New Haven, Economic Development Officer, City of New Haven.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Fershte Akra, and I brought some material on the project. If you want, I can.
So what we'll do, let us, you're gonna start with the
Yeah, I can-
presentation, and absolutely, you can put that, absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
And I'm Joseph Rini, I am an attorney for the project that is out there at Riverfront.
Thank you.
Address,
My address is, office address is Rini and Associates 216 Crown over in Legal Towers.
Thank you.
My address is 776 Quinnipiac Avenue, New Haven, Connecticut, 06513. And my office is 195 Front Street in New Haven.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
thank you.
This proposal is for, and of course you'll correct me if I get anything wrong. It's the words escape me, but it's more than a mixed-use project. It's about 80 housing units, between 70 and 80. And with several varied retail uses proposed. A restaurant, coffee shop, perhaps a bar, artists, live workspaces, and hopefully in the future, a marina. The employment there should be between maybe about 65 people. It will energize the waterfront there on Front Street and in an area that's been kind of a dead spot forever. And what's needed as far, and also stress waterfront uses with walkway, and like I said, hopefully a marina. The site's been pretty thoroughly investigated, and what remains to be done is hazardous building materials survey of the existing, I think 3 buildings in it?
There'll be 2 buildings.
2 buildings,
Underneath the building.
followed by, which would be followed using grant money, by demolition, and then soil testing in the spots where the building stood. It was debated whether to do the soil testing while the building stood, and that didn't make financial or environmental sense. So and then following that testing, they'll be able to determine exactly what cleanup needs to be done, but most of it has already been determined because the buildings don't cover that large a space. So, and it will entail primarily excavation of soil areas that cannot be capped under the state's regulations. The levels of mostly petroleum products are too high to cap. So those would be excavated and transported and disposed of. And then the rest would be capped primarily with pavement or a building. So again, this one's also pretty straightforward. The only thing that is a little different is that it's going to require some sort of a bulkhead or a seawall along the water to keep the cap soil from going out into the water. Yeah, and it would also contribute to creation of a walkway and marina there as well.
You want me to explain?
And yes.
Do you want me to explain?
I think that's
Well,
enough.
first thing to say, just so we go with it, the area before it was purchased by Riverfront Development years ago, decades ago, actually had fuel towers,
Mhm.
and there were spills. We know there's some contamination there because we've got it from the already existing and updated environmental project. To be able to go forward needs to get that cleaned up and have the seawall built. And everything is sort of pegged on this first thing. And I want to, right now, thank the city for the intensive work they have done with the developer. And Ms. Becker will show you the beautiful project, but the city has been instrumental in trying to move this application forward so that we can have the project go forward. And I want to thank the city staff for doing that. Helen has been instrumental, but that whole department has been superbly supportive, including all the way up to Mr. Piscatelli, because it's got housing, it's got, all these other pieces that Ms. Becker can explain.
Thank you.
Yes?
No.
Absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that.
Okay. Well, this project started in 2005, but we had some problem with our land being occupied, partially by neighbors. So it took us a long, long time, a lot of money to get that land back. However, before we purchased it, we did environmental, without environmental.
If I can stop you for a second, can you move the microphone closer to you so that way those who are in attendance can hear? I want to be able to hear because the design is beautiful.
Before, we did the phase 1, phase 2, and preliminary phase 3 environmental without our environmental. And they've been working with us all along, even as long as when the last time that we asked for the grant, they did more studies and looked at what areas, and we have maps showing exactly what has to be moved, what has to be capped, what volume it is, what volume has to be back, and all of that. And that is the major cost, that one. And now that we have this, we will be able to go ahead on that. We do also have, from DEP, a seawall permit, along with a public pedestrian walkway, as well as the marina, transient marina, that they gave us. The land is 500 linear feet long, so that would be the seawall. We have an ocean. We have loss of land due to it is created by other issues environmentally, and we have to put all of those back again. And the plan that we have is, which DEP is very much for it, it is to not fill the site, but rather leave, land is very, very low, to put the boardwalk above it on the elevation 13.6 with a pedestrian walkway and park and recreation area and a lot of fountains and badminton and a long 500 linear feet of public pedestrian walkway, as well as 500 linear feet, as well as public pedestrian walkway that comes from Front Street to the property, to the waterfront, to where the seawall is going to be. This will allow for development of 70 units of 55 and older in form of a rental. And we're proposing 10 units of artist living. The reason being, when we bought the property on 185 front, they were full of artists and their work was beautiful. In fact, they donated one work to me, which is sitting because city couldn't find a place to put it. And that actually is like a replica of Quinnipiac River, the bridge, and the boats going through. And they asked me if I would, when I develop it, I would do a part for the artists living, and I told them absolutely. And that's what we're going to do. Beside those two buildings that are housing the residential, there is about 18,000 square feet of commercial, and that is in lower level, right to the water. It's a restaurant, it's a bar, a coffee shop, and a specialty store. And above it, there are two levels of treatment and rehab and educational treatment on the third floor that would be related to, again, aging population. And I understand Quinnipiac University is interested in some of that. And then on the top of that, there is a, what we call it, moonlight restaurant on the top with a bar and the outside seating area, all looking into the river. So people can come walking from Grand Avenue to Front Street to the 3 pedestrian walkway that we have to the waterfront, walk on the, and then we provide the ramps going down to be able to get to the floating docks, to the boats. And I have a schedule showing, which I can share it with you. Although the land is about 63,000 square feet, almost half of that would be public open space, would be open space. And we can show it to you. Sorry. This is the location of the two buildings for residential, commercial, and artists. And water, obviously, this is what we have permit for. And here is a part of that plan that shows the commercial area and one of the buildings, the public pedestrian walkway, the kiosk that people come and they're directed, they're supposed to go to the units or they're supposed to go to commercial facility, or they continue to go to the boardwalk and to the public pedestrian walkway and to the transit facility. So we are depending very much in transient boating to serve the restaurants, the bar, the coffee shop, and above it. And this is not a building. This is a community. I'm an architect, urban designer, planner. And this is my last project I'm going to do. And I have done more than 15 million square feet around the world. And this one is going to be my final project. And there's a lot of information about the square footages, about public space. We are working on parking, reducing some of the parking because they don't need it, and we're providing different kind of service for taking people around, so they won't be that much dependent on the private cars. So this way we can get a commercial part be more alive and active.
I'm sorry, but I can't really hear. Could you speak
Sit
up
down,
a little
so
more?
You have to
Yeah,
sit,
sit
otherwise
close
it's
to
gonna
the
pick it
mic.
up.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is one. This is top floor that I was telling you to show you. The top floor here, where you see the relationship between the building. We had a meeting this morning with this city plan. The project is going to be a PDU, and because everything is looking at each other. They are not independent buildings. They're part of complex. And as you see here, the design I don't like to, we don't like to really do any boxes. We like to do, thank you. We like to do building that relate to the environment and relate to the neighbors. This is the view from Front Street. And the view from the water is on the book that I gave you to see. And that was preliminary, this is more final. And it's going to obviously reflect something like that, and we'll have a lot of activity on the waterfront, a lot of activity. On the street level, basically we are almost on the street because the land is very narrow in depth in many parts. So we will be almost like 2-3 feet setback, where we would provide curtain around the building because we have contamination, and we're going to cap it under the building, and this way we'll seal it so nobody can get to it. And in those setbacks of curtain, there will be what you see, bamboos or what else? Do you have any questions?
Well, you tell the support you have.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot of support. I have the letters we've seen there from Quinnipiac, for Wacoma Yacht Club, as well as from Frankie, as well as from financiers that's working on the project with us. And we also have it here by some people who were here to testify for the project, Many Wade and Chris Ozat, because I've been working with people around and showing the project to the neighbors that were allowed us to do that. And since we haven't been, we also have a full support and recommendation of Fairhaven Community Management. Letter of support, you will see. So there are several letters of support there, and we are planning now to have an at-large meeting in June the 30th on Atwater Community Center at 6 o'clock in the afternoon to communicate with the public about why it is so important and what should they expect. This is not my project. This is something for them because I live on the other side of the Quinnipiac Avenue. And initially, when I came and I went through the bridge, I looked at the water and I said, my God, this is a Quinnipiac Riviera. And somebody called me and said, you are nuts. But it is beautiful.
Last thing I think I wanted you to quickly say, talk about where the parking is and that it's not multi-level.
No, it's not multi-level parking. We have done as much as we could on surface parking. And to the extent that we are short on that, I'm looking outside to get additional property that we can provide for more parking. But at the same time, having the bus, having the transient boating, and having the cars that will go around and take people in there, in and out of those units, will help it. So we are asking the city to reduce the parking. That's one of the exemptions we are asking for. You see here that you see some color blue because you see the water, because the boardwalk is high up and the land is flat. And ask me a question.
So if all presenters are done, would you like to add something?
Well, the only thing that Ms. Beckrad was talking about that she didn't spell out, the way the boardwalk has worked with DEP, they're actually having us put plants under it that we're moving from part of the seawall over so that there will be vegetation holding the dirt and keeping the relationship to the river instead of making it like a solid concrete wall or something. That's all going to be under the boardwalk. And that's something that the EEP thought would be a great idea, and we actually have moved, we're in the process of moving some of the plantings around so that we don't lose the plants we have, and then we'll have other plants under there. So it's going to be, in the presentation that we're trying as much as possible to be consistent with the water, with the river, the community. It's even as deep as we're putting plants under the boardwalk.
The most important part of this project is revival of Fairhaven community, both Fairhaven Heights, and the recognition of Quinnipiac River as an artery for recreation, sporting, participation, and being part of the design throughout. That's because Quinnipiac River is beautiful. And unfortunately, this site has been for many, many years sitting there. And now it's time, and we got the project going.
I just want to mention that you already did build some condos.
Oh, yeah, I did it.
On the other
Initially,
side.
when I came, I wanted to build it in both sides of the river, so they look at each other. So on the other side, I had 22 units. 22 units. That one of them is mine, that used to be a garage. And the city wanted to condemn it. And I fought them, and I turned it into my own unit.
On the other side of Quinnipiac.
I'm putting on the river, yes. And over there, we get the chance to look. There is a lot of walkways, there is a lot of gazebos, there is a pergola, there is steps going up and down, and there is a granite seawall. And it is beautiful. I mean, I came from Manhattan and I fell in love with this. So,
Any questions for?
So was there a parking plan study done?
it's being done. David Sullivan is the
So there is a
consultant.
plan already?
He's working on it, yes.
Oh, he's
To
working.
say that not only parking, but traffic as well, how it relates to it. And what we can do in piggybacking with other services that we can get. So we will not overwhelm the community with a lot of cars. Yes, that is being done. In fact, our attorney talked, besides Mr. Vinny, Harmony is helping on zoning and all that. And
When is that expected to be completed?
the project,
The parking.
the parking would be about maybe 2-3 weeks, yeah.
To the chair?
Through the chair, if you can get that information for us to the, I'm sorry, through you, we'd like you to send it to the legislative office so that this committee can review your traffic study.
Sure.
Thank you. Alderman Dente.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Ms. Becker.
Speak up, please.
Thank you. How many years has that property been vacant?
Vacant,
Yeah, that slip of land.
over maybe 40-50 years.
And how many feet of shoreline would you say we lost?
We lost quite a bit.
Estimate.
From place to place, somewhere about 10-15 feet to some places about 7-8 feet. But the erosion also ate into the whole shoreline, so that has to be done too.
And I have one last, Madam Chair. So as someone who lives a couple, blocks away and has small dogs, and I know you said you're public space, I know a lot of our neighbors have dogs, and it's a very dog walking friendly community. Would you be open to maybe a small dog park in that public space?
There is, if you look at the site plan, it's very difficult to do that, because we're putting a lot of facilities that is more recreation and more related to seniors and having this services that they don't get normally.
Gotcha.
But if it was possible, yeah, I would look into it.
No more questions, Madam Chair, thank you.
Mr. Chair, question?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. You said that you weren't going to be using or implementing a seawall, you were going to be using plants
No,
as a
the
seawall?
the seawall is separate from what is going to be under the boardwalk. Boardwalk will be there, seawall will be farther out. So the seawall is there are several different ways, and we've had, depending on pricing, we're not certain which material will be the one that will actually there. All of them approved, the permit's been granted for over a year now. And we're just waiting, because we had to get the environmental issue straightened out, we couldn't do the seawall before that. So this is why this whole grant is important.
May I can help a little bit more on this. Imagine this. The boardwalk will come right to where the seawall is. But the seawall is open toward the river all the way down to elevation 3, held by piers. The boardwalk is not steel. It's material that you have a lot of landscaping here and there around it. So that space will grow natural, because we have to do some erosion control.
So it's going to be elevated,
Yes,
okay, by piling?
yeah,
Right.
yeah, elevated, so as you go by the water, you don't see a steel wall,
Right.
and you see lights and,
Thank you.
Any other questions from committee members? Okay. So thank you for your presentation. Is there anyone that's going to speak on this item? Is there anyone from the public? You all can take a seat if you like. I don't know if there was a sign-up sheet, but we'll have those who will be presenting. Okay. I can have it come on over, your name and address as you come up.
I didn't go back out. No, I just went in there for a second.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And have you moved the mics, right? It doesn't have to be close to you, so it
Okay.
doesn't
Okay.
make that, you know that. Come on over, yes, absolutely. Okay. Are you presenting separately, correct? Okay. Your name and address for the record.
My name is Don Harvey. I live at 29 Grand Avenue, which is around the corner from the properties that the project is to be built on. And I want to say it sounds like it's going to be a very exciting project and a lovely project. I am concerned, and I just spoke with Frank about this, went into an area I shouldn't have, but the immediate neighbors haven't seen this plan yet. I know we're going to on the 19th, but I'm a little concerned that we haven't, that we're just now hearing about the extent of this project and the fact that it's gone this far forward so far. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm sure it's going to be a lovely thing. The community certainly can need it. There are issues to be addressed. One of them is certainly the parking, and I understand that's a problem. One of them certainly is the proximity to the ship channel and rebuilding of the seawall. Those are important things to consider, but they will also impact all of the neighbors, and I'm looking forward to the meeting that lets us see how that'll work.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate your testimony.
Parisha, thank you. I think it's a lovely beginning.
So before you leave, I just have one additional question.
Yeah.
You're here, you're concerned, and when you say, so neighbors have not heard or seen this plan?
Right.
Okay.
Well, actually, the first this last Sunday morning, a number of us gathered at the Farm Valley, which is a restaurant that has just opened down the corner in the King Block. And we're quite surprised. Sarah was there, Sarah Miller was there, and she indicated the project had moved quite a ways along. And we haven't seen anything of it, those of us who live in the immediate neighborhood. So that's a bit of a concern.
So I know that, Alderman Nette, are you the alder of this area where this?
I am the alder of the ward in which the project sits, but not the ward in which this gentleman lives.
Okay.
It's, the ward is split right along Front Street.
Okay,
Yeah.
but I'm asking about, is this project in your ward?
This project is in my ward.
Okay, thank you for that. Just wanted
And,
to,
and just to note, there's a public meeting scheduled for June 30th to review the plans with the community, and that tonight's item is just solely the remediation.
And I appreciate that, so thank you very much. Anything else?
does that sound,
Makes-
so this is,
makes
yeah,
perfect sense.
today it's going to be, we're discussing today the grant funding. You know, as someone stated earlier, this has been vacant for so many years.
Yeah.
So, but I understand your concern, and thank you for that clarification, that it will be brought forward and you will be at that meeting. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
have one other question. What was the amount of this grant for remediation? I thought it was 949.
998,000, I believe. 995,000.
That's not what I read in the, I thought it was 949.
Here it's documented 995.
995.
Okay.
That's what it is.
On the city's website, it said 949.
The website or the paper?
Back to the website.
The media.
Oh, no, you're probably right. Yeah. Yep.
So for that, we'll get that clarification as well through economic development so that the residents are aware.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate,
Probably have-
yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Your name and address for the record.
The microphone.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nathalie Bonafé. I am actually living at the same address as this gentleman, is my husband, 29 Grand Avenue. I have a few questions and a few points to stress. I love this community, and so because of who I am, I pay attention to some details, and I'd like to bring them here to kind of help bring the community together, because I'm very good at finding the gaps and at solving them, and that's my goal here, is to solve and to fill the gaps. When Ms. Petra talks about community, we all have this sense of community, all of us who live near the river. But there is something that my husband Don brought up, is that some people, we know this project has been going on before we moved to the neighborhood, 20 years, she's had the land, it's just fine. I think I've talked to Mrs. Petra once in my 12 or 13 years. And this was in her office with Mr. David Hunter here present as well. And since then, there hasn't been any communication. And what I found is that I'm not the only one who has not been talked to as a neighbor, and I walk my dog along that road maybe 2 to 3 times a day. Some people have been talked to, some people have not. And if we're talking about community, I think this is very important that everybody is included. I like people to be included, or I would not be living where I live in this country on the top of it. So that's the first point, community. Let's make sure that communication increases. If we met at the cafe on Sunday, it's because I told a bunch of people that I was going to be at the cafe and that people could come and chat, because a lot of the neighbors never talk to one another. Okay, and it happened to be a beautiful a beautiful meeting. Sarah walked in. I had talked to Sarah about this, and I actually am the one who requested the meeting that is now being scheduled June 30th. So you see, there's a bit of dynamic here. Things don't just happen, come from the sky. They need to be initiated, and they are initiated by real people. We are here, we talk to one another, we can make great projects, including the Rashta Bakras project, which seems very good. I am not at this point, I would like to see the plan at this point because of the nature of the meeting. I would rather focus on the remediation than the final plans. The remediation are going to affect directly the river. The river is huge. I'm a scientist, okay? I'm a biology and health scientist. I can read chemistry and I'm concerned about public health. I want to make sure that this plan is done well. I would love to see a good plan for the neighborhood, but it is not going to happen if the river gets contaminated in the way. If there is, as I heard, if there is like a marina, I don't know, but I had a boat for 10 years and I know that the channel to get through the bridge from the current marina and the boat club goes just that much, that close to the property. So I want to see maybe a marina, but it seems to me that an extension, I don't know about the numbers, again, I haven't seen the planning details, and that's okay, but I'm concerned that a marina in addition to the wall and to the path may affect the traffic of the boat. So let's make sure that everything is okay. Let's make sure that the oysters that are being cultured, seeded, harvested, grown in the river are not being contaminated. Making sure that no oil leaks into the water. And for that, I trust that the DEEP and all the state agencies are just going to set a set of requirements that will need to be answered. That the employees who are going to demolish the buildings are going to be working according to the environmental safety. I don't know if this place has been vacant for 40 or 50 years. God knows what there can be. People have lived in those properties. There has to be toilets. There has to be sewers. There has to be things in addition to the oil tank. All I care about as a human is that it is well done. And so one of my questions, because there was not a question so far, one of my questions is, are we talking, is the grant, this one is a grant for remediation, does it have a compliance requirement? And what are the terms of the compliance? And this is all to help with the next meeting. This is not antagonistic. What are the terms of the compliance through the grant and the state? And how do they plan to comply? How are we going to have these discussions? Okay, so, I've heard about survey of the buildings, demolition, soil testing. I would like to request is that the public that it is a transparent process and that the public, including those that have not been told too much, hear about it, hear the details. And we're a couple of scientists who can look at this with you and help as external public. So that is very important. And of course, a seawall. We also know that close to $1 million is not going to cut it to clean that. So how much more money is going to be needed to finalize the remediation? And so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I would like to see more community in this community. I happen to have close and personal relationships with pretty much everybody, except the drug dealers. But I would like to see people talk to one another more for more creative projects. And that's my point whenever. Thank you.
I thank you so much for that testimony. We have other presenters?
Hello, Madam.
Speaking to the mic.
Hello, Madam Chair and alders.
Your Eminence.
My name is David Hunter.
Use the mic.
This one?
It doesn't matter.
My name is David.
In stereo, David, in
That's
stereo.
fine.
Only take one.
My name is David Hunter. I'm the president and CEO of Mary Wade in Fairhaven. I've been at Mary Wade for over 40 years. I don't remember how long it's been that I've known Freshta. It's got to be at least 20 years. I've heard about this project for about 20 years. I've seen her present the project at least 4 times, including at the Fairhaven Management Team meeting. And she had asked to use Mary Wade with the community to make a presentation there as well. She loves Fairhaven. She says she lives in Fairhaven Heights, but I think she lives in her office on Front Street. That's the only place I've ever seen her. And she is committed to this project and making it an asset to Fairhaven and to the Quinnipiac River. And I've seen the plans a few times. It gets better every time she presents it. I think she's more than open to the community. It's a very, obviously, you can see it's a very tight-knit Fairhaven community. We all know each other. We work together to improve everything about Fairhaven. And I think this project, with Freshta's vision and her experience as an architect, developing some major projects in the United States, I think, having built a number of buildings at Mary Wade, I know there's a real strict process that one needs to go through with the city of New Haven. There's a lot of input. There's a number of hearings. I don't know exactly where she is in that part of the process, but as far as I'm concerned, people are going to have ample time to make their comments known and make their concerns known as well. So I'm here to support this project. I think it'll be an asset to Fairhaven. 55 and older housing, I think, is going to be essential, as not all of you hit this board, but some of us are getting older and we're going to need housing. And so Connecticut's the third oldest state in the country. And I think, we can't get enough housing. We have some great senior housing already in Fairhaven. There's a real cluster there. And I think this will help boost that as well. So I'm excited about the project. Another restaurant on the river. That's some nice restaurants right there on Grand and Front Street. And so I think and it's going to improve the tax base in New Haven. I think I think that's going to be a key to this thing. It's a commercial property that I think is going to generate some revenue, and I think the city will benefit from the taxes on that, as well as jobs. I think she's going to improve the job market in Fairhaven. So I'm all in favor of the project, as you can tell, and I'm very enthusiastic. I'm a very big supporter of Freshta.
Thank you for your testimony. I also want to remind everyone that what we're doing this evening is the city of New Haven is applying for a grant. So this is just the beginning, because we are hearing about a grant for 2 different projects here. So please understand there is going to, I can honestly say, and Alderman Drente, you can chime in, that there is going to be an opportunity, because the previous young lady that spoke, we do live in communities, and there are times that our residents are very disconnected, and a few may know each other, and this is a great opportunity for the Fairhaven community to reach out to Alderman Dente, who is the alder in the area. I think that may have been some confusion as well. We do have bordering colleagues, but if you need to speak and connect with Alderman Dente, and then moving forward, he can definitely have a coffee date with everyone, but also bring it more to the public. Tonight, we're here to hear about the grant funding. for hopefully, to clean up our areas.
Excellent.
Mr. Wozniak?
Yes, Chris Ozick, 603 Quinnipiac Avenue. I'm a Ward 13 co-chair. I'm an environmental activist. I'm sort of a watchdog on a lot of things on the Quinnipiac River. When I first met Fareshta about 20 years ago, I butted heads because she bought one of my friend's houses on the Quinnipiac Avenue and was going to do her project, and we were very concerned about it. It turned into a fantastic project that allows for public access. She treated the water correctly, and we built trust over the years. And Fareshta has been a community participant, meaning that she's been involved with the management team meetings on both sides of the river. She's been very involved with community like traffic calming, and donates to a lot of nonprofits in the city. But more importantly, she is somebody that came from Iran as a young lady into New York City in the 70s as an architect, single lady, working her butt off. And when she came to New Haven, she fell in love with New Haven. And it's a love story. And all the projects that she's been doing in New Haven, they get better and they get better and better. And she's responsive and she listens. And as she said, this is her swan song. This is her vision, her dream. And I think that's a beautiful story. It says something so nice about New Haven. But more importantly, let's clean up this property, right? So this property is polluted. It's commercial property. As of right, it could be industrial. It could turn its back on the neighborhood. And we could have something that we would not want to have that. Many years ago, with the young Mike Piscatelli, our community group, Quinnipiac River Group, actually worked to reduce the height of buildings that could be built along the riverfront, which is impacting this project, interestingly enough. And so those are some of the considerations, because we were worried about like high rises of Bella Vista coming down on the waterfront. So there's always this sense of like, hey, something's going to happen there. And if you want a project to happen there, isn't it great to have somebody that lives in the neighborhood, that has invested in the neighborhood, that has a track record, and is receptive, right? Like we all know projects that happen all over the city that you can't get a meeting, you can't talk to people, you can't understand what's happening. And so I so appreciate Fareshta as a person, but then I look at this site and I say, hey, there's environmental issues and we need to clean it up. The oyster people, they called me and said, hey, Chris, what's going on with this project? We went over there, we see that it's falling into the river. We're concerned about the pollution, that sort of stuff. And they agreed that like, hey, yeah, getting the seawall in there, getting it capped, having, activity, they're all on board, because you may not know it, but Fairhaven was founded on oysters, so we were the oyster capital of the world. And one of the biggest farms in Connecticut is located right on Quinnipiac Avenue. It's just all underwater. It's pretty amazing, and that's our food source. So with sea level rise, we really got to be thinking about how and when and if this project will ever be able to be completed. We watched what happened across the bridge on another parcel, and that's been stymied, and that's an albatross around the neighborhood. And so we have these commercial properties that are brownfields that if you don't do it now, when are you going to do it? And then it just becomes compounding in terms of not helping with community vitality. We all know Fairhaven, right? It has a mix of community that lives there, and it needs both supportive housing, diverse housing, it needs senior housing, it needs all the different things. That's what makes it so rich. It's the rubbing of elbows. And having a place that is open and accessible to people. I mean, not only, they're required to do public access to there and have it be meaningful, but this is going right along the whole property. This isn't just like a little appendage that goes out. All the other condos in the neighborhood are required to have that. They have signs up that say, no trespassing, keep out. But some people know you can walk right in there and you can go down to the docks and walk around. Fareshta's site on the Quinnipiac River does not have those signs. That just tells you something about how this project is going to be managed and handled. I believe Fareshta is going to live in these. I think it's really smart to have it for elderly, for elevators, to get people up and down. There is not that housing style, but also keeping old people mixing with young people and having restaurants as a restaurant row. We got 2 good restaurants right now. We need that third to keep that vitality, to keep that flow. So I really appreciate your time and listening to us and thinking about this. And just to comment about like the process, yeah, Fresh is in a place of, she has to like going to city plan and getting feedback and saying, hey, here's what you need to do, talking to investors, talking to all the different players. So it's premature to present something to the community that then gets changed. And then the community says, hey, you changed it. You're not being an honest broker. So you gotta, when you go to the community, you also gotta say, hey, we still have all these other ways that we have to get through the process. And those are all pressure points also where the community can engage in that conversation. Right now, we're just talking about cleaning up the property and stabilizing the waterfront. The rest of it is just up for discussion in the future. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I was gonna ask one, but now I don't have to ask it.
Okay, Chris is thorough.
When-
He's very thorough.
No, well, when we talked about, but you're a plant guy, when we talked about them bamboo, I was like, you know, that goes rampant.
Yeah.
Cause that happened at City Point, but, you're 100%. We are in the conversation process, and thank you for, mentioning, this is just the beginning of coming here, because you'll have to be heard at City Plan Commission, giving the opportunity of community members, that they hold those meetings, I believe, on Zoom, and definitely speaking publicly there. So thank you for that. And again, having everybody get together, the committee. Any other questions from committee members? Please, thank you so much.
Thank
you. Is there anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this item? For a second time, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? On either of the 2 items, because we had the first one that was a grant as well, over at 275 South Orange. Again, for a third and final time, is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on any of these items? Seeing none?
Madam Chair,
Vice Chair?
I move that we close the public portion of this. Second.
The item has been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The public portion has been closed. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to wait both of these. Are we moving both together?
You can, you gotta make a motion first, I'll use the mic.
I'd like to make a motion that we move both of these projects together.
Second.
The item has been moved and seconded.
Discussion.
Discussion?
Madam Chair, like I said, I believe both of these were presented very well. The fact that we are being asked, the city is being asked to,
If I can have those in the back, thank you, I appreciate that.
strictly for mediation, I believe we should move forward with this, because we do need to make sure that there's no issues with violating our environment. This is a very important piece of our beautiful New Haven, our harbor, and the surrounding waters, especially the Quinnipiac area. And being that the alder is very much in tune with it, I think we should move on.
Okay. Any other? Alderman Denton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, I'm not only the alder of this ward, I'm a little kid who grew up on Front Street. My grandmother had an apartment at Dover Drive and Front Street with views of the river. When I ran for alder, one of my first priorities was that shoreline, because if anybody who knows, that shoreline is eroding all the way down to Middletown Avenue. We're talking about a property that's been vacant 40 or 50 years, 10 to 15 feet of shoreline, erosion. And I like what Mr. Ozick said. I mean, he took a lot of what I was gonna say, but he made a lot of sense. I mean, we were really just talking about a demolition and removal of the hazardous materials. It's a long vacant eyesore. It's a desirable neighborhood. Much needed tax revenue, as Mr. Hunter said, much needed senior living space, artist space. You know, half of the property is public space, 65 plus jobs. And of course, you know, let me just say that I didn't know Ms. Beckrath before running for Alder. As a matter of fact, I went to Alder Miller to ask who it was, who the developer of that land was, because again, in my first couple of weeks just running for Alder, I said, that property has to get done. It's too nice of a neighborhood to be vacant, you know? And again, it's been vacant almost majority of my life. But since meeting Foresta, I've learned her to be very dedicated to community. She's always at community events. I've been a part of both public meetings about this project. And again, we're early in the process, so I don't want to put the cart before the horse. But as my letter states, this project has my full support, and I thank you.
Thank you. In giving us that letter, it has full support to move forward with this grant.
Yes,
Thank you. Alderman Dente. Okay. I too am going to speak on behalf of moving these two items. We have two vacant lots that have been, since the first one was the Coliseum, and now the area over by
Front Street, Front Grand.
Right. And so bringing life to, again, it's a grant. I'm going to stop there, but I'm very excited that this grant will be igniting these communities with walkable spaces that the community needs, so that, as the other young lady mentioned, she won't have to deal with what's impacting the neighborhood that is unsavory. So I think, again, supporting these grants to bring these two areas to life is a big deal for our community, and it would increase the tax base, so I too support this. So at this time, all those in favor of this item, say
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any objections? The ayes have it. We will move this forward.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
The item has moved and seconded. We are adjourned.
Vote on the motion.
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, you all point all the time. You don't miss a step. I was looking at your eyes the whole time.
Still here.
We're gonna take back the drawings, we need the books.
You want the book?
Yeah,
I'm
no,
keeping mine.
I want mine.
Yeah, no, we need the big drawings.
Because
all that was going to do was take it back to title and to have those boundaries in there.